Hello and welcome to Cinema Beans. My name is Travis Bean, and today it is time for episode 2, which episode 1 was easy for me. I talked about Magnolia, which was my favorite movie of all time. So if I keep wanting to give you this rounded view of myself, what's the next step? Well, I think the next step for me personally, if you want to get to know me and my movie taste, which those things kind of go hand in hand, they're very much aligned. Um, in terms of describing my personality and representing my general feeling of feeling like an outcast in movie culture and in society in general. Just kidding on the last part, mostly in the movie culture part. I feel like I have to talk about a movie that everyone hates that I love. And the go-to one for me on that is Showgirls. But I'll wait till I actually watch Showgirls to talk about it. I'm going to talk about a recent movie I've watched that I found a lot to love within, and most people seem to hate. And as soon as I express that opinion, hordes, a legion of movie lovers come descending upon me on Twitter and let me know how stupid I am and how I have terrible taste. And I'm used to that. That's fine. But my hope is that I can talk about these terrible movies and give you a little bit of insight on the inner workings, like what they're trying to do on more of a thematic level, on a commentary level, and why they're ultimately important and maybe deserve a little more time than you would have thought. And what better movie to start with than Alien versus Predator, which to my mind, I remember when it came out. I remember even seeing a little bit of on TV, and I think I remember probably thinking it was terrible. It's one of these recent movies that everyone just agrees is awful. It sucks. It doesn't belong in the Alien canon. It doesn't belong in the Predator canon, and we should just get rid of it. And you can go to filmcolossus.com and read more of a full write-up on what I wrote about it. But on my all-time rankings here, let's see where I ranked it. I have it down at 79, which, isn't particularly high. But there are about 200 movies on this list, so it's in the upper region, and I have it above a lot of movies I'm looking at this, Akira, a bunch of movies people have never seen. I'm just looking at all the nerdy stuff I watch. The Man Who Knew Too Much, that is Alfred Hitchcock. I have it above Aliens, which I honestly love, typing that in and hitting publish on WordPress, because I love that people will get to see that I've ranked this above Aliens. That's pretty much what you need to know, I think, to know where I'm at. I think it is the third best movie in the Alien franchise, and I love the Alien franchise. I would go Prometheus. Now, see, there you go. That is true insight into how out there I am and how contrarian I could be sometimes. I would go Prometheus, then Alien, the original. Then I would go Alien vs. Predator. Then Alien Covenant, which I think Ridley Scott just did a dynamite job with the new Alien movies. Then Aliens, then Alien 3, then Alien Resurrection, that one's actually awful. I can't even defend that one. But Alien versus Predator, I think, is an awesome addition to the Alien franchise. I love the Alien franchise because it's such a cinematic take on the demonization of the female figure in society. It's so cool how they do it, because the alien is a woman. She's a queen, and she births other aliens. And it is just this vicious figure of a woman that is looking to be controlled and mutated and integrated into society. This big corporation ultimately wants to have a stranglehold over this creature and use it for capitalistic reasons. I think capitalism is a huge part of the Alien franchise, and how the desire to have power and wealth can kind of overshadow more important things, like people's rights, allowing people to have agency over their body. And Ripley, in particular, the hero of the Alien movies, which would be played by Sigourney Weaver, she kind of comes to represent the antithesis to that, the woman who's struggling against that system, and this idea that that this demonic feminine figure is something. It's something that ultimately needs to be conquered, and she's fighting against this idea that it's something that needs to be controlled and exploited and pushed out into society. Kind of, it's a really cool the way Ridley Scott handles it in the original Alien movie, all kind of like phallic imagery that's happening. And then, of course, you have Aliens, which has all that like macho energy, like going against the alien. And of course, Alien 3 almost explicitly deals with reproductive rights. Ripley has been abused by this alien, has, without her consent, been implanted with an alien. And the whole movie becomes like the struggle for her to retain or regain agency over her body and decide what to do with the alien within her. All that stuff is always just kind of mixed into the Alien movies in a way that I don't think is exactly overt, which is good. I like that it's not subtle, but it's also not overt, right? Like, it's not subtle that all that stuff's happening. Like, you could definitely see all that, especially Alien 3. It's almost explicitly about reproductive rights, but it's also not overt. It's not kind of hitting you over the head with it, which I think a lot of movies do. So I do think that commentary passes a lot of people by. It kind of goes over their head. So you have this really cool mix of everything coming together, and that leads into the Alien vs. Predator movie, which then we have to talk about the Predator commentary. Predator it feels opposite to the Alien movies, yet it also really aligns, as we'll see, because the original Predator movie, you got Dutch, you got Jesse Ventura, you have Bill Duke. What's that guy's name? He's awesome. Whatever he is, he's in Commando. He's always in those like macho dude movies from the 80s, and the movie opens with them just like obliterating all these people at the Vietnam War, like using their like high grade weapons. And their ego is being touted, their macho energy, their strength. And then before long, the Predator comes along and tears them down one by one in very ironic fashion. It's the people always meet their demise in a way that kind of calls out their toxic masculinity. And it becomes this challenge to toxic masculinity and overcoming this antagonistic figure that is the ultimate exploitation of masculine energy, like this unconquerable figure that is taking them all down, and overcoming that energy becomes the drive of the movie, and then becomes a big part of the franchise moving forward, even thinking all the way forward to something like Prey, which just came out, which is kind of the like Gen Z take on Predator, bringing women into the mix and really attacking like women's place in society and her ability to be part of the hunt, and overcoming this, again, figure of toxic masculinity. Overcoming that Predator becomes, it's a way of visualizing her struggle in society. So the Predator movies are always handling that energy, bring that into Alien, which is exploring society's like embrace of this demonization of a woman. And you have like these seemingly conflicting energies like kind of melding into one. Like this toxic masculine figure comes to Earth to hunt this alien and overcome it. And instead of battling the predators, what we see is the woman hero of the movie works with the Predator to help defeat these aliens who are ultimately a threat to society. And it becomes this really cool take on each of the franchises where like the Predator isn't necessarily something that needs to be defeated. It needs to be something, it's a mindset that needs to be overcome and controlled, which is ultimately what she does to extinguish this very nasty figure. The alien has all these virulent sentiments about society, and it represents like the worst parts of like the way we view women. Like that needs to be extinguished. So she works with the Predator to do that. So that the woman in Alien vs. Predator, I would argue, is a lot stronger of a character than the girl in Ray. the woman in Prey. Am I thinking of Star Wars? In Prey, there's just more thrust to her, and there's more foundation to the themes and the struggle, in a way that I think makes Alien versus Predator just kind of work inherently. Having those two energies come together and this common fight that the Predator and the woman share to overcome something like the alien, I think is so cool. And I feel like that part of the movie, that kind of emotional thrust, passes a lot of people by because they're a little too distracted by what the movie is stylistically, which is a Paul W.S. Anderson movie, a guy who made like Resident Evil, Event Horizon. He has a history of making movies people don't like, they think are terrible. He has a very video game aesthetic, which people find annoying, I guess, which I would agree is annoying if it isn't done well. But to deny his movies like otherness, like how different they feel from what we commonly see in video game movies or any movie period, it feels perverse to just disregard that, throw it to the side and say like, that's something else. Like, that's not what we expect in movies. That's the kind of attitude I feel like it's my lifelong battle. It's like, well, I'm a critic. Like, I really want to fight against that and show that like we should really embrace when we have an auteur like this who has such exact vision and such profound insight visually into the themes and commentary he's exploring. It's so cool that he has such a unique perspective on this particular issue, this issue that's been explored a million times in other movies, including, again, Prey, which is a movie I would argue like doesn't have much of an aesthetic, at least not one that excites me, one that feels invigorating, one that feels different. Alien vs. Predator feels different. And I think sometimes when we experience something that feels this different, we kind of have a negative reaction to it, which I get, but I think is unfair. Like, I think it's ultimately unfair to movies like Alien vs. Predator, and that's why these kinds of movies, which, again, throwing in like movies like Showgirls, maybe some of the classic like Michael Bay movies, like when something comes along that is just truly different, it can rub us the wrong way. It can make us feel uncomfortable, and we cast it into this like abyss where it belongs with all the bad movies that we try to forget about. But hopefully my fight is to keep them alive and keep us talking about them, and to kind of challenge the way we think about these kinds of movies, because as I've explored here, like there is a lot to love there foundationally. Like all of that thematic meat from the Alien movies, from the Predator movies, that's all there inherently, and we just kind of have to open ourselves up a little bit to how the movie could be exploring it in a much different way. Obviously, this is very different stylistically from any Alien movie, any Predator movie. So for Paul W.S. Anderson to take this kind of leap and to explore the topic in this way, I love that. I love when directors do that. Of course, it doesn't always work, and we can be critical of that, but I think it works here really well. And maybe now that you've listened to what I've said, you can go watch the movie again or watch it for the first time and have that mindset and be thinking more about what the movie is doing well, then kind of bringing in this attitude of like, this is supposed to be bad. Like, this is different. Like, this has a video game aesthetic. I got to say, on the video game aesthetic, Paul W.S. It's really hard for me to say. Paul W.S. Anderson made several of the Resident Evil movies, but I would say Resident Evil Retribution is one of the best movies of the last 10 years. And it has this really extreme video game feel in a way that's cool and part of its commentary and everything. I would love to talk about that movie on this channel someday, actually. But okay, that's it for now. I got to find the stop recording button. Thanks for watching. Yeah, like I said, that's a little insight into me. These are the kinds of movies that I don't know. I kind of root for movies like this. Like, I really like an underdog story, and I really side with movies that are just dejected from society and feel like they have no place. I want these movies to survive and have another life. So hopefully I did my part a little bit today. Okay, thanks for watching.